You know it's super fly when Day Bar is opened. Hip-hop review, news plus breaking new artists, pop culture, current events with an urban view of it. This is all things hip-hop delivered raw, unpolitically correct, the fans' perspective, putting all artists in check. Dope content, current hot by remarkable men. Our thoughts clearly. Welcome to Audio Theory.
Yo, welcome back to the Audio Theory podcast. If you're new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button as well as the like button. What's good, Danny? How have you been?
I've been good, dude. Excited. This month is almost over. I feel like it fucking started last week. But we finally got our interview for the month, so super excited to bring on this artist, let the people know who we got.
Yes, so today we have a special guest. He goes by the name Wes. Thank you so much for joining us, man.
Thank you, guys. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, likewise. And just to give everyone context how we got this interview in the works.
Yeah, please.
So my fiance grew up with her, one of her really close friends, Kirsten, in Korea. And I, of course, knew Kirsten through her. And I released a song of my own not too long ago. And my brother was like, yo, wouldn't it be cool if you had someone remix this song? So the only person I knew at the time who had mentioned having rapper friends was Kirsten. So I was like, yo, do you actually know anyone who could throw in like a Korean verse? She's like, no one comes to mind, but I have this rapper friend, Eddie, who's really good. You should check him out. So I went to his page, and I think Shooters had just come out at that point. And I was like, holy shit, this looks like something like Lyrical Lemonade or whoever would direct. And the quality of the bars blew my mind. We were looking for somebody to interview for the podcast, so it was like the universe spoke to us, and we just really thought we had to get you on. And just love your music and your personality and everything. So really glad to have you on.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, I when you reached out to me, I was like, dude, any friend of Kirsten is a friend of mine. So I was
nice.
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
Yeah, because we've had other people, we're not massive where we want to be just yet, knock on wood, but we've had other people reach out, and we're like, man, we're not at that level yet where we're begging for interviews. Just
right.
Man, we don't really relate to the shooting and killing of people, your money. I'm like, bro, not yet. So Blair told me about your music and put me on last week, and I was like, oh yeah, for sure, get him on the pod if we can. So thanks again for hopping on.
Of course, man. It's I haven't done many of these at all, so it's maybe my third one, and my first one I did was 2 years ago. It was way early on, so I'm excited for it. Yeah.
Awesome, dude.
Nice.
When this pops, we'll do an NFT. We'll all get rich off it. So.
Oh yeah, coming soon. But yeah.
Awesome, dude. Well, again, we like to do little icebreakers just when we have people on, just to obviously get the nerves out. Let people see a different side of you. It could be a one-line answer, more like a rapid fire kind of thing.
Okay.
I'll start off with a funny question I feel like it's been going around for the past couple weeks.
Right.
If you had to choose between $500K tomorrow or a dinner with Jay-Z, what are you picking?
I'm taking the 500K.
Yeah.
I'm taking the 500. So I feel like I would have said dinner with Jay-Z because it's if you get within Jay-Z circle, you could learn so much stuff that's worth more than 500K. I just think right now as a small artist, right on my way up, one of the things that's limiting me from getting to where I want to be is the capital. And I think if I had the 500K, I would figure out some way to do some distribution or marketing, and then I'd finagle my way into meeting Jay-Z. But hopefully.
Yeah. It's also at some point he may not want to speak that day, and it's what are we talking about? You know what I mean?
What if I get Jay-Z? He's pissed off,
Yeah, and it's I could have 500K and calamari. What the fuck are we talking about?
Exactly. So yeah, I would take the 500. But,
yeah, same.
Yeah.
Nice. I think it's a smart answer. This next one it may or may not be the hardest question, but if you have to sing one karaoke song, what do you pick?
Slow Dancing in a Burning Room by John Mayer. That's my shit.
Wow.
Yeah, that's my thing. So,
that sounds hard.
That sounds so hard.
Honestly, it's because John Mayer's voice he doesn't go super high all the time. For me, if I'm karaokeing, I don't want to be pressured to have to hit all these notes. I feel like that would be a good song. It's also one of the ones that I only I remember every word to the song. I think that's probably
Got it.
So even if you're drunk, you're I still got this.
I could hit it. I could do it. So yeah.
Nice.
Nice.
And then listening to your music, it seems that basketball is like something you're definitely passionate about, at least know about a lot about.
Yeah.
So if you had to pick one player, would you pick peak Reggie Miller or peak Steph Curry?
Peak Steph Curry for me, for sure. I'm also from the Bay, so
Okay.
you know, I grew up in the Bay. I grew up a Warriors fan, but I think just to me, like, yeah, Steph Curry for sure.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Although I would say Reggie Miller, if you're talking about just like entertainment and trash talk, and you know, he's dope, but that's like a little bit before my time. That was who like my dad told me about when I grew up watching.
That's why I was impressed. I figured you're a little bit younger than us, but like when you had, I think, in the line or something, I was like, oh, this dude fucking knows his basketball history. Like, this is gonna be great.
Yeah, because I grew up in New York, but my dad was a Knicks fan, so
Same.
he was intimately, you know, like in the loop with what Reggie would do to the Knicks all the time, and so that's why I know about Reggie. But
Yeah, Miller time became a thing. It was like, this fucking guy.
Exactly. So yeah.
All right. If you had to eat one meal for the rest of your life every day, what are you eating?
Oh man, it would be some sort of soup. Like I'm big into stuff that's just like light and I could eat every day. Maybe like just a chicken soup with rice or something simple like that. Yeah,
Nice.
not too complicated. Yeah,
Sounds like a safe choice.
yeah.
Super easy. Nice. And the last one from me before we get to Blair's last question. So right now, man, like everything is in hip hop is just like, you know, Donda, CLB, which is better. We had episodes on it where we both were like, we probably shouldn't even be comparing the two because it's so different. Yeah. But if we have to compare, which one would you go with? Would you go with the Donda body of work or the CLB body of work?
My answer would be CLB for me personally, but I'm also just a really big Drake fan. I feel like I relate to a lot of the things that he says, and but I will say I haven't listened to Donda all the way through yet, and so for me, you know, I kind of disqualified myself on that. But
fair.
I gotta take Drake.
One or two CLB songs that really just stood out to you.
I like what was the one that he had with Daniel just showed this to me yesterday. I like Bridal Path. Bridal Path was probably my favorite, but I'm trying to remember the other one. What was the other one? I'm gonna look it up right now because it's one of the bangers on there that I hadn't listened to until yesterday.
Yeah, I feel like the body of work, like after you keep listening over and over, like other songs like this is also fire.
Yeah, No Friends in the Industry.
I love that song.
That's
that
one
might
of
be my
Blair's top
favorite.
3 on that one.
Yeah.
I don't know how I skipped over that one, but we were literally driving the other night and he showed it to me. And I was like, damn, this is fire. So
Yeah.
Nice.
Good
Cool.
choice.
Yep.
All right, last one. Something you enjoy doing, watching, or listening to that your fans or friends wouldn't expect.
You say that one more time, like music wise?
It could be anything. It could be a passion outside of music, just something that people wouldn't expect that you're into, essentially.
I'd say either like cooking or history. Like I'm a big history buff. Like I like researching stuff on that, or like just like in my free time outside of the studio, outside of music, I like to cook a lot. So,
dope.
Yeah.
Are you a big soup maker, or like what else?
Yeah. I like taking my time and like doing like a slow roast of like if I have oxtail, for example.
Oh, nice.
Like slow roast it for like 7 or 8 hours and make my own stew out of that. But yeah, Chinese food, Korean food here and there, steaks, things like that. But yeah.
Awesome,
Nice.
dude. Well, appreciate the honesty. Hopefully gives your fans a different perspective they probably never even heard before.
Yeah.
But man, let's get into the interview. Obviously like to ask every artist this. So like, if you had to tell your fans, let us know who you are in like a nutshell. Like who is Wes, the artist, the songwriter, the producer? Let us, give us a little bit more insight about yourself.
I don't know. I think just from a simple perspective, I'm just somebody who really, really likes music. I bring a lot of passion to what I do. I think music has helped change my life in an extremely positive way. It's one of the most important things for me. And so I guess I would just describe myself as like, yeah, I'm passionate about music. It's really kind of the only one thing that I have going on in my life right now. It's like my sole dedication. So
Awesome.
yeah, that's pretty much all I would say. It's not much, but
No, that's good. So
No, that's plenty.
yeah, that's funny for sure. So like, was it any one thing that kind of lead you this way, or did you hear a song when you were young? You're like, yo, I gotta fucking just do this or see if I'm good at this.
Honestly, it was a weird path for me, because I think as a kid I've always just been really into music, like growing up playing instruments and writing songs and doing things like that. So like it's always been my biggest thing, but I never knew that I was gonna do it for a living until like 2 years ago, because I like went to school. I was trying to, you know, make my parents proud, and all these pressures of doing other things. So it honestly, like, yeah, it was a very kind of like unorthodox way. Like I was 25, 26 in another industry, like not even considering doing music, you know? So yeah, you know, but it started with who I was listening to as a kid, always listening to music. Yeah.
Got it. And when you said that you weren't considering it when you were 25, 26, were you still doing it on the side, and like it was more so just a hobby, and then something clicked and you're like, I'm going all in? Or how did that transition take place?
Yeah, it was always on the side, always making music, always writing music, but just for enjoyment. Like I think what clicked for me was it was a slow buildup of certain things. One was like I was just miserable in my job, like not happy. I didn't feel a sense of purpose of what I was doing. And then on the other side, it was like my homies, my two closest friends, like very few people who I would put music to, and they would kind of hear certain things here and there. Like they kind of had a little talk with me gradually, multiple times, saying, hey, you should really think about doing this. And so it was a combination of the two that made me just be like, fuck it, I'm doing it. So
Nice.
And you mentioned the pressures of your parents. I mean, I grew up in India. I've been around, you know, the Asian community for a long time. So like, yeah. So how was that conversation to your parents, saying like, hey, I know we had this plan, but we're gonna go a little bit left right now?
Yeah. It was scary for me, but I've always been lucky. Like I have a great relationship with my parents. They've always been strict and expected kind of the highest standards, but they were the types who was like, if you do well in school, like we'll encourage you and support you to do whatever. And so I think at that point, it was they were cautiously supportive, right? Like I would be worried as well.
Yeah.
So I don't blame them at all for that, but they were always supportive. They were just kind of like, I feel like it would have been a little bit different if they saw it earlier, like I was 16, kind of not showing it and stuff. But it was like, this guy's kind of got a career going. He's working at this company. All of a sudden, I'm just, hey, you know, I'm doing music for a living. So I think that was it was kind of out of left field. But I made sure when I talked to them, like I had like a whole like
PowerPoint.
I had like action items and like so I was like, I wanted to show them that I was serious. And by this time I should be here. So it was kind of just, you know, they let me do it. But
awesome, dude. Yeah, because I have like all like so many Indian friends. Like, yeah, I'm not a doctor, but this is also pretty cool. So give me a break.
Yeah. No, I feel you. I feel like passion is so important to what you do. You know, sometimes it could be hard to take that leap, but I certainly had it easier. My parents were always very supportive of me. So
awesome, congrats.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say I'm even in a similar boat with a similar predicament. I haven't gone all the way in, but the older I get, the more I'm like, I'm not here forever. Like I need to spend my years doing something I really care about. And what we just chatted about reminded me of this one rapper. I forget his name, but he's pretty big, at least has his own like little cult fan base. And I want to say he's in dental school and like making more money from his music than he ever did. But like he's still finishing dental school for his parents, essentially. So I think it's dope that we live in this era where you can still kind of do both, or at least, you know, it's not something that you have to make an either or thing right away. So I think that's super dope. But what was like the first moment where you know, picked up a mic and like consistently began recording music and whatnot?
I want to say like I started writing music and trying to record in like middle school and high school. I did, but it just wasn't like on a consistent basis. And I would do it like on my phone and edit it on my computer and stuff. But I would say consistently, like every day was like college. I saved up for a mic, and then I just started making music in my dorm room. It was like complete trash, but
I'm assuming you scrubbed all the history of those tracks, or are they
Oh,
still somewhere on YouTube?
I was lucky. I never put anything out because I was always way too insecure to put it out there. But it was all on like, I didn't even use Logic. I had Cubase at the time. It was like an old like laptop that weighed like 50 pounds, and I eventually lost the laptop. So it might be
damn.
out of the but it's gone now. So yeah.
Nice.
So when was the first time you performed, and not just your two homeboys? Like, when was that, and like how was that experience for you?
Yeah, that was my first time performing was actually early on. It was in high school. So we had like a mini, I forgot what it was, some event. It wasn't even a talent show, but they needed some entertainment before the keynote guy. And so I went up there with my guitar and I sang I forgot, some acoustic song, and it was terrifying, but but it went really well. I enjoyed the feeling of that. Pretty soon after that, I think I DJ'd a show for the first time. That's not so much more like, connecting and performing with people, but there was a sense of like connecting with the crowd when you play something and people vibe with the energy, and you get to manipulate and see people how they react. That was something that I remember just like being like, wow, this is really cool. So yeah.
Nice. So those original songs that you were recording in high school and middle school, were those like, was that hip hop based, or was just like whatever kind of came to you that day?
Oh, I was like everywhere. Yeah, I think most of it was probably hip hop, but at that point, I don't think I had found my identity yet. So it was probably just me trying to like sound like G Unit, or like, like I don't know what the subject matter stuff was. Because now looking back, I don't even know what a middle schooler would write about in his raps. But yeah, but the genre was very like, it's always been kind of just what I like. So maybe just a blend of everything, really. But yeah.
Nice. So in terms of like your identity now, would you consider yourself just an artist who kind of does it all, as opposed to, hey, I'm a rapper or I'm mostly a singer? Because I know a lot of people have a preference when it comes to those kinds of titles.
Yeah, I don't really like, I just let people say whatever they want, because there's certain people who listen to the rap who look at me as a rapper. There's certain people that only really like the melody stuff. For me, I just call myself an artist. I think I like both. Honestly, I think both are great. But for me, it's like, I think as soon as I try to approach either being a rapper or trying to fit into being a pop or melody guy, the intention behind the music kind of goes away from me. So I just move off of what I like, and then it just comes out as whatever it is,
Yeah.
But yeah.
And that kind of brings me to my next point, which was actually Danny brought up to me, was we really sense the confidence in your music. And you just mentioned earlier that you weren't putting out music way back when because you're self-conscious about it. So how did you build that confidence to be like, all right, like, I know my shit is good, I'm not afraid to say it and do shows and all of that?
Honestly, I'm still working on it, man. Like, I think I'm at a very different level of confidence than I was before. I think in the beginning of like taking that leap to say I'm going to start making this public facing, it was just constantly like hyping myself up and like isolating myself to where if anybody would talk shit, like they weren't in my life, so I just wouldn't hear it.
Yeah.
So it was like my boys, my sister, my parents who would support me at the time. But eventually, as things started doing better, I think a lot of confidence came from just the music doing better, like external things that made me feel like, you know what, I could do this, right?
Yeah.
So before then, it was really just delusional self, kind of like pumping myself up, and also just telling myself that my confidence should come from my years of preparation. Like, I've spent a lot of time at it. So
yeah, because that's probably something that stood out. Like, because I went through all your like songs on Apple Music, and so did Blair on Spotify. When we were talking offline, I'm like, this guy has fucking big dick energy on these songs, bro. And I was like, the confidence is fucking through the roof, dog.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like, but I'm sure you guys relate as like fans of hip hop, but to me, like, confidence is one of those things that drew me as a kid, because even if I wasn't super confident, like I feel like there's two sides that when people listen to hip hop, they either kind of think that it's really cocky and abrasive, or you feel empowered by it, right? And for me,
it's like a soundtrack to your day or whatever.
It was like, for me, hearing somebody else being confident about themselves never made me feel like I was less. It made me feel like I was rich when I was broke. It made me feel like I could do what they were doing. And so for me, like, yeah, that's part of what I love the most about hip hop, is the factor of that confidence that's in it, you know?
That's awesome.
For sure.
And then obviously, so that inspired you in some way, obviously. So you already mentioned you're a big Drake fan, but like, who were those artists? It doesn't have to be hip hop, that inspired you to really just really start pursuing this on your own.
I never know how to answer this question, because but I'm sure you guys, when people ask you guys are probably like, yeah. It's a long list. Like when I was a kid, I really listened to a lot of pop music as well. So like Drake and John Mayer were two big staples for me. Like I loved folk stuff, or bordering like folk pop stuff. Like Jason Mraz was huge for me. I really liked listening to when G-Eazy came out, and I found out about G-Eazy. I liked his production, and just one thing that I admired about him was his branding and his unique like lane he occupied. I grew up listening to like me and my best friend loved like Pac. I'd listen to Pac a lot. Yeah, honestly, it's everywhere. But those are kind of like the big ones recently that come to mind, you know? But.
Nice. And then speaking of different artists, like, do you have like, comments on your like social media, just your friends who listen to your music consistently? Are there any couple artists you get like comparisons to a lot?
They're like here and there. Like I feel like people just look, and then if they see, like for example, they saw the Shooters video, and because it was like colorful, they were like, oh, this is like Drake vibes, because it was like Hotline Bling. Yeah, exactly. So I get like Drake sometimes. Like somebody said that, like, I don't know, I feel like the Asian thing, people tell me a lot. They're like, you're like, if somebody took someone out of BTS and made them a rapper, then like that would
Oh, that's too.
It's like the laziest comparison.
Yeah, it's the laziest fucking.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, all right, sick. But yeah, I heard Drake sometimes. I think Drake is the one, because obviously, like, I'm inspired by his music, but I also I like the balance between singing melody and making sure that you also come with bars. I think that's something I have a lot of enjoyment in. So I guess some people say that, but
nice. Yeah. One that stood out for me, I think, I don't know, so I'd be intrigued if you've heard this one before and if you've been inspired by this artist. So I heard a lot of like, well, not heard, but like I compared you a lot to like your voice, like to Belly. Like,
dude, I love Belly.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
That's amazing. That might be the best one I've ever heard.
Yeah, dude, I was like, this is like if Belly made like songs like to girls more often than not, but like I hear like Belly in this dude's voice like hard. So that was.
I'll take that one. Didn't Belly just come out with a new record?
Yeah, dude, I didn't love it. It's good, but I didn't love it. I like his mumble rap body of work a little bit better. But he just put out some body work earlier. Yeah,
it's funny because when I heard No Friends in the Industry last night on that same drive, my same friend showed me Belly's like one of the new songs off his record. So it's funny that you mentioned that. But I think Belly's great. He's amazing.
Yeah, so talented.
I'll take that to the bank.
Nice.
I know. I feel like every time we interview, or not every time, but several times, we've been able to come up with comparisons that the interviewee has never heard before. So I'm
Which
glad
is
that
cool,
you're a fan of
like
Belly.
everyone really interprets music in so many different ways. So
right.
that's always tough.
Yeah, no, that's great.
And so speaking of like representation, I mean, at least when I was in college, like Mac Miller was huge, and I thought it was dope to like finally see another white rapper who's like just being himself kind of take over the game. But I think everyone can agree, like, it wasn't until recently that Asian American artists really got the spotlight with the help of 88 Rising and other groups. So just curious if that has ever felt like an obstacle for you, and has this like recent movement been inspiring or influential in any way?
It's always been it definitely has been inspiring for me, just in terms of just like it's the opportunities for Asian artists now are like, you know, there. I feel like the idea of of a mainstream Asian artist is a lot more just like acceptable, and people could see that happening. So that's one thing that's real cool for me. I've always been incredibly proud of my heritage, my tradition, and I'm incredibly traditional in my personal life and my friends who know me. I've kind of made it a point to not make that a part of my branding. However, because I do think that like early on, if you kind of play that card all the time, you just get pigeonholed into being that Asian artist. And so for me, like my long-term goals are I want to be the biggest. You know, I want my music to be the biggest that it can be. And I think that's why for me, like, I'm always supportive of that movement. I'll always be proud of that and be a part of it or whatever. But for me, like, I wanted people to, instead of saying, oh, he's a good Asian rapper, it's like, he's just a good artist.
Sure.
So that's just been my thing. I haven't even really tried to, play that angle or whatever. So, but
yeah. I think that's dope. It kind of reminds me of this article, like way back when Danny and I actually had, I wouldn't call it a debate, but a discussion about the distinction between white rappers and rappers who are white. And this article just kind of went through the defining factors of what the difference was. And, it really boiled down to some rappers getting boxed into their ethnic identity, and then other rappers who just happen to fall in this group, but like make music for everyone. And I feel like your music definitely falls in the category of just being amazing, regardless of like how you want to interpret the lyrics or who you are or anything like that.
Appreciate that, man. Thank you.
For sure.
Awesome, dude. So maybe we can go through a couple songs. So like, obviously I know Shooters is your most recent release. So like, kind of walk through the people, like your like inspiration for that song, like kind of what is your like process of even coming up with different topics.
That one, honestly, Shooters, I wrote in it was quick, like it was a throwaway for me. I had done it in like one night. I wrote, it was a freestyle, and then I just took the beginning and threw it on the end, so it had like kind of the two hooks.
Nice.
But I think I was talking to my sister, and we were talking about what inspired it. Was we were talking about the concept of how crazy music is, and the idea that it's about projecting emotion and making somebody feel what you felt when you were inspired to write that song. And they could be 500 miles away, they could be in France, they could be wherever. You could never. She was basically saying that there's places in the world, four walls, that you'll never step foot in, but when they play your music, that energy that was present when you recorded it is permeable, it's tangible, it fills the air. So there's places that you can almost travel to without ever being there, that you'll never see in your life. And so that's why I turned that line into been to places I ain't never seen in person, all they really got to do is press play. So that was the first line I wrote, and then from there it just was just a confident, just talking about my life and stuff. But I guess that's where it started.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you make that beat yourself?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Well, the beat was dope regardless. Like, so great job picking it. I love the like when the beat stops and then it has like the announcer part for the Barry Bonds thing.
Oh yeah.
It's hard, by the way.
So I guess like the original beat, I said most of my beats, like I do produce to some point. So like I did add and arrange and add instruments, but the original, like the sample and stuff came from another producer. Like I had that line about Barry, and then I YouTubed, I think it was like MLB home runs. And then the first audio of the compilation was that this ball is crushed, and I just cut it and threw it in there. So
it was so nice. So well done.
That's perfect.
I appreciate that, man.
And no, keep going.
Oh yeah, sorry, my bad. I was just talking, like I always geek out about like little details that I feel like Blair, you'll probably relate to this. Like if you put certain things in your songs, and most fans who listen, it'll just go over their head.
Go right over their head,
yeah. You're like, damn, I thought that was a cool. I thought that was
right.
Ask me about that. Ask me about
that. For sure. Yeah, that's what's super funny is there's like a lot of little things that I'll add in, and I'll pay attention to it, but someone listening either subconsciously will like fuck with it, but they'll a lot of times never really say it.
Yeah.
But obviously, we're all music fans, so I'm sure Danny
we
all the
geek
time
out.
will notice things like that.
Yeah.
But in terms of the music video, like what was correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was the only music video, at least on your YouTube channel. So what made you say I'm gonna not only make this the first one, but like go all in and make it like a super dope ass visual?
Yeah. I think my mindset has always been just to not force anything if it's not the right time. Like I was like, in the beginning, I wanted to shoot music videos, but the music hadn't gotten to the point where I had met people who believed in the music, or I had the resources to. So it was really just kind of time and place thing. I felt like when I first recorded the song, I was like, whatever about it. And then I heard it like a week later and I was like, this shit is hard. So I just wanted the video. And then Kirsten like happened to introduce my music to one of her friends who's like a super talented cinematographer, and he was like all the way in on it. So it just happened to be kind of at that point in my career, I felt like the opportunity came for me to be able to do it. And then after that, I'm just a big believer in, if you're gonna do something, then you got to put 1,000% into it and make it the best thing that you can. And so we shot the whole thing at the venue. It was like a one take. We improvised it when we got there, and then I had the concept in my head that I wanted the frame painting and things like that. And so what else made it possible was I met another guy from Toronto who I'm friends with now, who did the frame painting. And so it was just an amalgamation of, it was a right time type of thing, and I had met people that allowed me to make the video without like breaking my bank, so
yeah, watching it I was like, that shit must have been the hardest first music video, because it was one take, right? Okay, yeah. I was like, yeah, I definitely couldn't do this shit.
Bro, I was sweating so much. It was like 9 takes that we did, but everyone was one take. So I had my sister there, and like when I went into a room, she had to run behind the camera and like put the broom behind it was there for me to grab it. And then like on like the 8th take, we had a perfect one, and then the broom broke.
Of course.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, but it was fun. It was a really fun time though. So yeah.
Nice, super dope.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you mentioned that obviously like you decided to go all in like a couple of years ago. Did that kind of overlap with like COVID and quarantine, or was it like right before?
It was right before. So this was like around 2019.
Okay.
Leading up to it, it was just like it was everything with work. I just super unhappy, and then decided that I was going to start to roll out music, and maybe took like 6 months to write like 10 songs to have a little bit of a bank. But it's funny that you mentioned COVID, because the day that right when quarantine started was when I had met Kirsten, and then she changed my entire situation. So that was when quarantine started. But in terms of like going full time with the music, it was probably like a year before, a little less than a year before, in 2019.
Okay. So how did, like, to elaborate on that, how did quarantine kind of just change did it kind of inspire you even more to like, like, this is like the universe telling me just fucking focus on this right now? Like, how did it really affect the I guess creative process?
Well, I mean, I was like locked up by myself all the time. So it was more so like I had nowhere to go, nothing to do. Like I took it as just like, this is the universe telling me like, don't fuck this up. Like, this is, you know what I mean? Like,
we're giving you some time right now.
Yeah. like if you miss this, it's over. And so for me, it was like leading up to that year from 2019 to 2020 was when I had gone like trying to release as much music as possible. And then that was like my business plan, and then focusing on distribution. And so when quarantine started, it was like, it was just only that. It was just singular focus every single day on that. And so, which is, what I should have been doing. So
nice. But yeah, it worked out, man. I think when quarantine kind of started for us, we kind of decided like, we're going to make this pod more of a priority in our lives. So it just kind of works out.
Yeah.
For everybody differently. So I mean, just to elaborate though on like I know you spoke to your parents and you had you seem obviously very educated on like the things you want to achieve. Like, are you by yourself in these decisions? Do you have like somewhat of a team around you? Like, kind of what's your setup as far as like your business is concerned?
Yeah, it's just me right now, but I have like a little Jedi council, my homies, like the people that I trust. So like a close, couple of people that, in terms of business decisions, like my closest friends, most of them are entrepreneurs as well. And so, even though what we do, whether it's with the podcast or the music, is a little bit more on the creative side, but I find that a lot of the business principles of like, the marketing, the attention to detail and unrelenting kind of quality in your product and distribution, all of those things, like I learned from them. So I'll bounce ideas off of them. But other than that, it's really just, I like to go off of my gut and just see what happens.
Awesome, dude.
Nice.
Don't tell my parents I said that.
Yeah, that wasn't.
We'll cut that part out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But,
and in terms of the business or what you're trying to achieve, do you have like specific milestones, like 2022, I need 30 songs or this and that? Like, what does that roadmap look like for you? Or are you playing it by ear and just trying to grow your fan base essentially?
Yeah, I have an idea. I am very like data driven. Like, I'm really interested in that. I'm always in my Spotify for artists, like trying to figure out different insights and stuff. So like for me, like I think within a big one is, I think within 2 years of now, I'd like to be able to headline my own shows, small theater shows. I think in terms of metrics, like I have certain, in the beginning, it was like I wanted to get to 10K and then 100K and 1 million. And so I think within 2 years, I'd like to be at somewhere between 10 and 50 million streams, being able to play my own shows. But so like to answer your question, I have a rough idea of those things written down that I look at every now and then, but I also try to separate myself from that as well, because I find that things just happen better when I know what I have to do. Like if I have to write out 1,000 emails to influencers, like it doesn't matter where I want to be next year. Like if I just do this, then it's just going to be where it's supposed to be. So
Sure.
I try to tap into that as well. I don't try to think about it too much.
Yeah. Especially because that could probably hinder things when it comes to the creative process. Like I feel like if business becomes too much a part of it, sometimes it could make things a bit more difficult.
Yeah. And I was going to say for you, Blair, like, being an independent artist in the beginning is like being able to turn on the business side and then being able to turn on the artist side. So, it's always kind of difficult to be able to balance those two. But it's fun.
For sure.
Right.
Yeah. And it's kind of interesting too, because I mean, obviously social media is big now, but I see a lot of quote unquote commoners who aren't making music clown people for promoting stuff and advertising their music. Like we live in this fantasy world where artists just magically become stars and get their name out there. And if they find out, like, I don't know, you were running Facebook ads or you did some content alongside an influencer that like you're phony and didn't start from the bottom and shit, even though it's clearly not that easy to crack.
No, yeah, that's the only way to do it. I think it's because most people just think that people come out of nowhere, but it's like, if you really want to grow this from the ground up as an independent artist, like you're going to have to self-promote or find some way to, but I always joke with my friends, like people who don't actually do it, you release a song and all of a sudden everyone thinks they write for Rolling Stone. So it just comes with the territory, So I understand.
Have there been any moments or any comments that you're like, really, my guy? Like, that's what you're going to fucking say about this?
Yeah, there's been a few. Like, recently was like started being the first time I got these comments, but I haven't had too many yet. There was like one where this dude wrote like a paragraph on my shooters, like where he like took like a deep dive. It was like a backhanded compliment. He was like, I forgot what he said, but it was something about how it doesn't take a lot of talent to make it nowadays because you just have to do a bunch of weird shit. Like I think he was referring to Young Thug wearing a dress or something, and he was like, "This is not a compliment," but it was some like weird rant, and I was just like, "Thanks for stopping by, dude." Like, yeah, I've had other people on Instagram send me some nasty shit, but like, who cares,
kind of comes with the territory. But yeah, at least they're fucking, that's a view or listen, you can fucking, you know, enjoy.
Yeah.
Obviously being independent, you're gonna have highs and lows. Can you like kind of talk about like any moments you like kind of, maybe you haven't, so hopefully you haven't, but like moments you kind of like question, like, am I even fucking making the right decision, and how you kind of move past that?
Yeah. I think the lows are always there, but for me, like, to be honest, there's never been a single moment of like me doubting what I was doing or thinking that I wasn't on the right path. I think ever since I started this, like, my life is just like, I felt a very strong sense of purpose, and that like I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, exactly when I'm supposed to be doing it. So I never felt like I was second guessing what I was doing. If anything, when I first started releasing music like every month and getting like no listens was when I was like the most confident, because I part of that probably came from like a level of insecurity, because I felt like everyone else was sleeping on me, so I had like shout it out type of thing. But yeah, there's never been a time where the low stuff is like, oh, if I'm doing something on the business side, or I don't feel creative, or I go through weeks of just like sitting in the studio not coming up with anything that I think is good, but never once a moment of like, you know, losing belief in it or anything like that. So
awesome. So then on the flip side, what has been the biggest high thus far? Besides this moment right now I'm talking about.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is right now the peak pinnacle for me. I think if I had to pick one, because it's really been gradual for me, it's nothing crazy that's happened. I think the emotional highs more so are like the times when I finished making Ghost. I was just like driving in the car with my friend and we're just doing this. Like those are the times that I'm the most. But I would say, like, in terms of the business, it was probably like when I first met Kirsten and she posted my song, and then it was like the night before was like very different, and then when I woke up to like at the time it was like 7K streams in a day, and I lost my mind. So like that was probably the one that I remember, you know, probably the only one that happened. So yeah. I still got a long way to go, so hopefully there will be more of those, but I only have one right now. So.
For sure.
That's all the moment.
Yeah,
What
Ghost
song
is
was
my
that?
favorite song.
Huh?
What'd you say, Danny? No, I was saying Ghost is my favorite song.
Oh man, I appreciate that. I don't, because I usually hear the melodic, like the ones with the bigger streams, but for me, like Ghost is like top two for me for sure. So
what I think is dope about it is the beat switch up, because when I heard the first half and then the second half, I'm like, they basically two completely different songs almost. And an artist like Drake, for instance, I mean, he does stuff like that a lot, and I feel like it just keeps things interesting. Your flow and the beat, and I don't even know how to describe like the vocal switch ups where they're layered on top of each other, but everything for that song was flawless.
Appreciate that, man. Thank you. I had a lot of fun making that one for sure.
And was that one like a spur of the moment, like it just came to you and you recorded it all in one night, or was that an over time sort of thing where you had the concept but you wanted to make sure it was perfectly laid out?
Yeah, it was that one took a while. It was like I knew the concept because I had written the hook for the pop part and the hook for the rap, and it was like I knew I wanted to make a song called Ghost with two hooks that the punchline was ghost but in different ways. Like one was ghosting a girl, one was like this confident hip hop song about how I'm gonna be driving a ghost. So I knew what I was gonna say early on, but it took me like, I sat on it for like a couple of months for sure before I finished it. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so that one took
nice.
a while. Yeah.
Well, if I have to put in a bid, I'll say I want that one to be the next music video.
Yeah, no,
something else comes up.
I definitely need to shoot a video for that one, but I appreciate it. Yeah.
For sure. And like just thinking about you know, your career and where you want to take it. I know you talked about your milestones and everything, but is there a certain level of fame or recognition that you're hoping to have? Because I know some people, they want the Drake recognition where everywhere you go, you're selling out, you know, arenas, everyone knows you.
Yeah.
But then there's also these artists like, I don't know, Currency or Belly, who kind of have like a more cult following, but they're not quite as big. So just curious if you have like a preference on that, or you just want to take it wherever it goes.
Yeah, I want to be the biggest. Like, I want to be the biggest, but I think my perspective on that is like, I don't, I don't care about the fame. If anything, I think about that would probably be like a net negative. It just happens to be in our industry. If you do very well, that just comes with the package. But for me, the reason why I want to be the biggest isn't because I want to go somewhere and get recognized. It's because my purpose that I want to fulfill while I'm here is to spread as much positive inspiration through my music as possible. And for me to be able to do that to the highest level, I need my music to be on the biggest stage. And so that's why for me, my goal has always been to be the biggest, and I want that level of recognition because of what that means for the music, not because I care about whatever else comes with that, you know. So that would be my answer. Yeah.
Dope.
Nice. Sorry about the tech issues on my end, guys, but we're good here.
No.
So before I got cut off, I was gonna ask you what thus far has been a song that really just like after you finish like doing it, you're like, that's my fucking favorite song ever in that moment.
Yeah. I don't like, for most of them, after I finish a song, I don't really like listen to my own music like that. But you know, in terms of just like driving around listening to my stuff, because for me, like once I put out a song and it's done, what it really interests me is like the next one that I'm working on. But for the ones that I have felt like that, like I released one called Like This that is a favorite one of mine because of I think for me, if the lyrics and the emotion that I try to put in the song, if that comes across to me a few months after it comes out, like that one was one in particular that I was like, I really enjoy this one. There's a few more, but it's usually not the ones that are like really the bigger ones, you know, for me.
All right, well, I got a couple that obviously Shooters is one of my favorite for sure. One that I really enjoyed a lot because I think that just the production is crazy, and the sample you chose is super dope. It'll Be All Over.
Oh yeah.
It'll All Be Over. My bad. Like that track, like that production wise is fucking fire.
That's another one. I co-produced that one, but I have to give the credit for the sample to Solus. Like he did most of that stuff. I like changed some of the stuff in there, but when I heard that beat, it was like immediately, because the sample in the chorus was talking about it'll all be like the original gospel song is about kind of like better days and hope and suffering.
Oh, that's a gospel track? I didn't even know that. Nice.
Yeah. And so I kind of at that time I was going through like some relationship issues, and so it kind of,
which I think everyone can relate to. That's why I think that song is, I don't know if that's one of your bigger stream songs, but like that song just kind of just resonates with like anyone, I would think.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I was gonna say, besides Ghost, what Blair mentioned, I was gonna say Like This, Ghost, and It'll All Be Over is my top 3 for sure, because I think the words to me, like, it means a lot to me personally.
The lyrics are fire. I think there's a couple lines like, if I stay, I'm crazy, or something like that. I was like, yeah, like who hasn't been there, bro? Like,
so I know, Danny, you've been through it. I know.
I've been through it, bro. I've been through it. If you go through the different episodes, you'll see exactly the transition. So that one was fine. I think A-List is also like a fun, banger kind of song.
Yeah.
What was the reception with A-List? Because I feel like that one definitely has the potential for like huge commercial success.
Yeah, A-List was the second song I ever put out. So I was actually like nervous and not as confident because it was the first time I was like putting out a singing track, you know? So, but in my head, I just remember when I first wrote it, I had this feeling about it where I was like, this song's gonna be really good. The reception in the beginning, it's always hard to tell, because for me at the time, like, you know, it was like 30 of my friends telling me it was the greatest song ever. You know, I was like, all right, guys. Like,
I get it. You like me.
Yeah. or just, you know, like they're nice, and so they'll support me no matter what. So I don't know if they would actually tell me to my face, is like, this is trash, you know? So for me, I started noticing that it was getting picked up more by like Discover Weekly and things. And so as like the sample size of the listeners grew, I started kind of figuring it out. But I definitely, that's one of the ones that's more kind of like commercial, like mainstream sound, you know. But
I could see some G-Eazy influence on that track as well, kind of.
That one's also like you know, it's also about my ex-girlfriend, so that but
We're all inspired by something.
inspired, so yeah. But yeah.
Nice.
Nice. All right, so,
Um,
but,
yeah.
oh, yeah, go ahead, Blair.
No, I was just gonna ask if anyone in your immediate circle, if their opinions have ever changed what you've done with the song, like, hey, this hook is low-key whack, like throw this word in instead, or take out this instrument or something.
Yeah, not really in terms of like the creation, because for me, I'm so insulated when I make the music. Like, I don't really even show anyone until it's like it's done. So I've shown some people and they'd be like, you should do, and I'll just be like, yeah, for sure. And then I'll just but I will say that there have been like people for sure in the beginning that they kind of like need that social confirmation. So even though it was the same song, like now they're like, this song is a banger, but before they just be like, it's all right, you know?
Yeah.
So, but I feel like that comes with being an artist. You're just like, all right, cool.
It's weird how that shit works.
Yeah, but not so much in terms of like people giving me like feedback to change stuff. But yeah, you know.
Awesome. But is there any one person you do go to for the most feedback? Or like, even if it's just like the business side of things, like one person you kind of like, that's your right hand on all these kind of big decisions for you?
Yeah, there's a few of them. Like two of my best friends, my buddy Alex, on the business side, like I bounce a lot of stuff off of him. My other best friend Daniel, he also helps me with the music in terms of like just listening to the mix, and like we'll go through. I'm the type of guy who will make, like, no exaggeration, like anywhere between 90 and 100 mixes of a song before I say this is ready. So he'll be the guy who like I'll send it to him, and we'll be in the car kind of like picking apart what sounds good, what doesn't. So those two guys for sure. There's a few other close friends and stuff that I go to, like my vocal coach Dennis. Like, I talk to him about like the technical side of things. He also introduced me to an engineer that sometimes I'll chew his ear off on questions and like bother him through text and stuff. But yeah, so
Nice.
yeah.
Nice. And just curious, like, do you have I know within rap, like everyone has their top 5, or in general, some people have top 5 artists, but curious if you've ever had a list of like GOATs that you
All time?
feel strongly about.
Yeah.
All time.
It doesn't have to be rap too, like just artists in general that you just like always go to.
Artists in general of all time? Oh, because I don't know how you guys like consume music, right? For me, like growing up, like I grew up in like the MP3 kind of like when we first started listening. So it's like I was a real song-based, like curate kind of a lot of different artists, but the ones that stood like as a kid, the artist that I listened to like the most was like Lil Wayne for sure, in that like 06 to like 11 when he was like the biggest thing on the planet.
Yeah, like the drought, like all those drought mixtapes.
Yeah, and like right before Lollipop came out, and then when Lollipop came out, like when he made that record with like right when like Got Money came out, I was in like middle school with him.
Yeah.
And so like Lil Wayne was a big one for me. Drake, obviously I mentioned him, but he's like, people, because he's so relevant, people are like, oh, that's such an easy answer. But Drake has been like since like fucking what, 05?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Right now.
Yeah, so that I love Ed Sheeran. I really like Ed Sheeran. I think his songwriting is incredible. I think he's like crazy with melodies. I don't care what anyone says. I love Justin Bieber, like that pop, that pop stuff.
Yeah, no, he's dope.
Yeah. Folk side, like I like a lot of like I don't know if you've heard of them, like Civil Wars. But okay,
No.
so I guess I'm getting off because you were talking about top 5, like top.
Oh, no, it could be any artist. Boy, is he an artist?
I mean, if you want to give us your hip hop list, we'll also take it 100%.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Well, I mean, one that I feel like nobody ever mentions, and I get that it's a little bit like kind of niche, but for me, like my favorite rapper through like a good chunk of my life was Tech Nine, and for me, like his image is maybe not as mainstream as people think, but just like that was when I was really into wordplay,
Sure.
and listening to how people kind of write raps really fast and understanding how patterns piece together. So I learned a lot of that through Tech Nine, even though I don't rap fast or make stuff like that. But he's like, for me, for the longest time, I'd be like Tech Nine. Technically, for me, was like top 5 of all time for me.
Nice.
Yeah, so
I'm not mad at it. I feel like in college, especially for me at least, a lot of people would play his music, and he's actually kind of one of the artists I think of who have that weird cult following that'll never go away, because like he's just so good at what he does, and he might not win 20 Grammys like a Drake, but he's still highly respected.
Yeah. So he always talked about like his work ethic. Like he was like one of the highest grossing in Forbes like hip hop artists, but nobody knows who he is. Like he tours more than anyone. During that period of my life, I was just like, there's no one that can fuck with Tech Nine. But yeah. So.
How influential was the like growing up in the Bay, or even in New York, like just like your upbringing, music's concerned?
Yeah, the Bay was like all my formative years because I was born in New York, but I moved there pretty soon after. So, but the Bay is like the culture there was like very influential. Like we had like remember Dev from like a G6, like before they like little like local Bay artists that you would hear about, like the Pack and like Keek the Sneak and like all these Bay Area artists like E40. I think that, I mean, if anything, it just helped drive me further into like being crazy about hip hop. But it's something unique for sure, because when you're in the Bay, everybody knows that hyphy sound and like and it's funny because if you go to LA or you go to some party and you play Bay Area music, people will be like, wow, this sounds super Bay Area. But so there's a very distinct sound, but some of those people who say that wouldn't really be able to put their finger on why. They just know that it does, so I think that's something pretty cool. But yeah.
Nice. Are you still in the Bay right now?
No, I'm in LA. I try to go back to see my family every now and then, but I'm in LA now. Yeah.
All right. So Blair recently moved to the Bay, San Francisco area.
Oh yeah.
What do you recommend to him to keep safe? Because it's a wild shit.
This shit is out of control, man. I'm not gonna lie.
Wait, are you in the city? Are you in like?
Yeah, I'm in the city. So long story short, I won't go into like the entire story behind it, but my fiance and I, she got a job in the Bay, and they were forcing her to move there. So I was like, fuck, I guess I hated my job at the time, so I had no problem. I actually just quit without a backup.
Nice.
And then kept applying, found a job in the Bay as well. And obviously this was like peak COVID season, so prices were cheap as shit.
Yeah.
And we found an apartment, but it's very close to the Tenderloin, and we knew about like that area, but San Francisco in general is straight up Gotham City. Like there's fucking people on the sidewalk with needles in their arm every other day on Twitter, shooting on this street. If you know the suspect, like let us know. And I'm just like, yo, it's so crazy how expensive of a city it is and how like lucrative these tech careers are, but then you have people literally shooting each other over like a bag of chips,
like right down the road. Yeah, it's crazy. Honestly, I had the same feeling about SF because I grew up going around there often, but like I didn't live in SF. But anytime you're in the city, like it's definitely like, it's a good way to describe it as Gotham City for sure. Because you have the whole tech scene, and it's such a hub of innovation and industry and stuff. Like my sister used to work in the Bay, like in San Francisco, and she was telling me how like the first day at work, she went on a walk with her coworkers, and like some homeless dude like ran in front of them like and took a shit like in front of them on the street, something like that. Like you just never know what you're gonna get. But yeah. Stay off the BART at night,
Yeah. Shit, I don't even know if I want to go outside half the time, let alone the BART.
Yeah, but yeah, I enjoy San Francisco. It's dope. It's a good city.
Yeah, I do love the Bay. I think COVID just kind of exaggerated a lot of the problems that every city had. So just holding my breath for when things open back up.
And you guys moved in like when everybody was like moving out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why everything was so cheap. Like one of the landlords in the building told us someone was like bawling their eyes out because they're like, I couldn't afford to live here for like 20 years or something.
Oh damn.
And they finally could. So
happy to move.
I mean, for good reason. Yeah. You just gotta wear a bulletproof vest, but it's fine.
Yeah.
Dude, Blair's on like weekly Zoom with the cops. Like, yo, this is what I heard.
Oh yeah, I never thought I would see. I mean, it'll probably ruin my street credibility fucking 10 years from now. But I was on a Zoom call with the Tenderloin police. Like,
No way.
Yo, do I have to fucking like strap up? Like, and they just had like no solution for the crime, which was crazy. They're like, we're doing everything we can. We're like understaffed by like 50%. Yeah. Other than that, it's been a nice change of scenery. Yeah.
Maybe,
and it's not that far from LA.
Yeah. That's the thing I like. Is like, it's far enough to where it's no distraction. But if you want to, you go down for a weekend, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We've done that like 5 times now.
Yeah, but keep something in the house. Stay safe, man.
Yeah. I definitely do.
Wes, man, you've been great. So just before we get out of here, dude, like you mentioned a little bit, but just so obviously we try to like have like up and coming artists on the show, and obviously people who listen are kind of up and coming artists as well. Yeah. Is there any like couple things of advice you would give to people like, you know, who are struggling or trying to figure out like, hey, is this music thing or any kind of new venture kind of worth pursuing?
Yeah. I would say, let me think about this. Because I would say number one is like curate your circle and who you're around and the energy that you're exposed to. Like, if you're really serious about the music thing, don't feel like you need to go out or like have a bunch of friends or do whatever. I would say like curate your circle to where like the negativity in the beginning is like, even if it's out there, like you don't hear it, it's not around you, so it doesn't affect you. Because I think in the beginning, like your confidence can be fragile. So my advice was like, confidence is everything, and you have to get up every day and like convince yourself that you're who you say you are. And so I would say surround yourself with a couple of close people who believe in you just as much, if not more, than you believe in yourself. I would say another thing is almost just as important is always put the music first. Never, I think there's so many people in music for the wrong reasons that people who do it for the right reasons tend to rise quickly. Because I think in music, like I remember Nipsey Hussle said, like the listeners aren't dumb, like they can hear the intention behind a song. And if you go into the music thinking about, I want to make money, or I want to target these people, or I want to write it for this reason, like instantly that's gone. Like I think coming from a genuine place and really preserving that enjoyment and that genuine passion, I think is something that people can't engineer. Like if you put that into a song, that song will connect with people. So I would say stay confident. Never let anyone tell you that what you're doing is unrealistic, because they don't know who you are. And also always put the music first. I think good music always has a way of finding its way into people's ears, you know?
For sure. So, amazing, dude. Appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. But
nice, man. Well, if you want to promote any upcoming projects or songs or your socials, the stage is yours. So feel free to shoot away.
Yeah, I'm really just locked up in my bedroom all the time making stuff. So stuff is coming out constantly. I got a few new music videos coming out before the end of the year. I got a new single that's coming out soon as well. But if people want to stay kind of up to date to what I'm doing, like you can follow me on Instagram at SoundsLikeWest. Yeah, other than that's really my main hub. My Spotify, if you look me up, just look up song name or my artist name and you'll be able to find it. But I'm constantly releasing stuff, so I'm sure, you know, if it's meant to be, if they're meant to hear it, they'll hear it.
Nice. But just so real quick before we dip, are you just kind of like focusing on let me get a few singles out there, or do you already have like an EP, like an album release kind of like in the near future that you're working on?
Yeah, so my release strategy for now is still going to be the same. Like I'm putting out singles right now. Like I do have the rough kind of like, I have enough songs to, like, I guess you can call it an album, but there may be like 20 songs in the bank that maybe some aren't fully done, or I need to finish a verse or whatever. But just so like when the time comes that I need to drop it, I can. But I think from a strategy perspective, like just the singles make more sense for me right now, because I'm still small. Like if I put out something, I just like to keep people's attention going instead of putting something out once a year and then kind of like fading into the background. But
yeah,
But yeah, so album, I think for me is just like TBD. Like whenever things get to a certain point, like what really drives me, like for example, some of the research that I did, like the data on Spotify, like they were saying the average amount of music that someone needs to have in their catalog before they really blow up is around 30 to 31 songs. And so I'm focused on putting out the best quality music in one by one, kind of like rapid succession, until I can get to a point where the fans even demand like an album, you know. So
amazing.
Yeah,
kudos
that's
to
a
you
great
for
strategy.
being so data driven. Love it.
oh yeah. I try to be. Hopefully it works out, but yeah.
Nice. And we'll of course have the links to all your socials and stuff like that in the description box for anyone watching this on YouTube.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you guys' time, man. It was nice meeting you guys.
Likewise.
We appreciate you. Whenever I guess we're in LA or the Bay at the same time, we'll link up and hopefully we can listen to some new music that has not released yet.
Yeah, hit me up. But I'll go back and I'm gonna cycle through some of you guys' old episodes. So
yeah,
appreciate
dude,
it.
let us know, man. Let us know if you enjoy it. But we really appreciate you, man. The music's been great. So obviously we're fans first, but you're an amazing dude, man. So I wish you the most success. Stay on for a second. Blair, let the people know where they can catch this and what we got going on.
Okay. Yeah, you can catch all episodes and this interview at audio-theory.com. We also have the Spotify and Apple Music playlists for the Heat of the Week selections. We'll have Wes on there, of course. But tune in every week.
Awesome. We're out of here, man. Love you, Blair. My dude, peace.
Appreciate it. All right.